Mr. McClure, thanks for joining us today. I know you said I could call you John, so I'll get back to that. Thanks for joining us today. And can you start off by telling us a little bit about the Internet of Things and essentially what Sicuro technology does, or how you even got your start?
Actually, it was the company is an asset tracking company. It tracks everything from trailers to trucks to people, to dogs, cats, and other things. We were born out of a project that I led when I worked for a subsidiary of General Motors called EDS. That project was Project Beacon, which you now know as GM OnStar. So I led the business team that created OnStar back in the early 1990s.
So with OnStar, well, I don't have that, in my car. My understanding is I can press a button and globally there's some kind of satellite system that can connect me to someone with help. Is that how that works?
That's correct. Essentially, it does three things. It actually acts as a security device. So therefore, if you need help or if you are in an auto accident, it will actually be a situation where you'll connect to a particular customer service person who will then help you along. It has saved many, many lives. Secondly, it's a productivity enhancer. So it actually does things like unlock your car. So before OnStar existed, you had to call a locksmith, wait an hour or two, they have to break into your car. Within the matter of seconds, a agent can unlock your car or you can unlock itself. It also now acts as a system maintenance enhancing device where it will monitor your enhancements. So in addition to security, safety, it also does productivity.
I would imagine that also increased revenues for General Motors. For instance, if you have some diagnostics that are talking to GM about some component of your car that's needing repair or wearing out, then the local repair shop can contact you and let you know that your car is talking to them, can't they?
It certainly can. It's a two-way. It's now a backbone for many of GM's newer enhancements in cybersecurity. Although I've not been with the company for 20 years, but it's come a long way.
Right. Now, I understand your current company, you will track things like connexes and containers. Is that right? You definitely make, you low jack connexes or boxes on flatbeds, things like that. Can you track things over the ocean or just over land?
We can actually, if you have the proper device, we can track you anywhere. It uses GPS along with some other types of technology. We also monitor assets indoors. We ran a pilot with GM, for instance, that actually tracked different devices that were required to build a car. And we were able to, in a 500,000 square foot plant, be able to locate that asset or that tool in a matter of seconds, right, where it used to take hours.
That's of course so helpful today, right? So helpful. One question I had is, how did you probably didn't start out in the satellite world, but now suddenly you're in the satellite world. Do you remember the point in time where you said, "Hey, I need to learn more about these satellites"? Or in particular, the question down the road is going to be, when did you get involved or get interested in small satellites? So,
right. If you want to look at the first inkling that I wanted to have something to do with space, It was actually as a child. My father worked for NASA in the late 50s and 60s. So I grew up with the right stuff, with the Mercury system, and was able to sit in, as a child, in simulators for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. So that was really the kindling of always working in space. Most of my career, off and on, was in the aerospace market with some type of technology. I've been in technology for quite a while, and therefore got involved with a number of aerospace companies like Boeing, Lockheed, McDonnell Douglas. And so I was very much involved there throughout my career. From there, what got me really interested in satellites was actually on the OnStar project. My first foray into that was to look at a new wireless communication systems. Of course, in 1991-92, GPS really did not exist for the consumer commercial marketplace. So we were introduced to such companies as Orbital Sciences, which later became Orbcomm back in the 90s when they launched their first satellite. And one of my sister divisions and partner on OnStar was Hughes Network Systems, which actually developed and manufactured satellite communication systems. So I've been involved in satellites for a number of years. It wasn't until probably 3 years ago when I met this young man who introduced me to his teacher by the name of Kevin Simmons, who then got me interested in small satellites.
Okay.
I'm a pilot. I am a commercial hot air balloon pilot, as well as a fixed wing single engine aircraft pilot. So I've always been involved in aviation or aerospace in one form or another.
Yeah, that's great. We met, actually, I don't know if we met directly at the Michigan Space Forum in 2019, but Sean and I were both there with students. I know you met some students, but the gentleman that I was there, the reason that we were there was because we had met General Mike Carey at SmallSat a couple of years, at least 1 year earlier. Did you know General Mike Carey prior to the Space Forum in 2019, or is that when you met him as well?
No, actually, I met General Carey about a couple of years earlier when he first was forming his company, Atlas Space Operations. At that time, it was Atlas Ground. And so I was involved with General Carey in a number of ways. I actually met him through a friend of mine through GM, and we had a lot in common. And so we've been friends both professionally and personally for quite a number of years. And I also have helped him, and he has helped me along the way where we could. So I was at the very first forum. We met in the second iteration of that. So I was at the initial one as a guest speaker because the Internet of Things will eventually affect space. And one of the areas we had in common we were trying to develop was actually tracking things in space at a commercial and consumer level. Mm-hmm. So that's how we initially found a common forum to
Okay. Can I interject for a second? So one of the things I'd like to do is bring it around to, we mentioned Internet of Things just now, and I know that I kind of opened it up that way as well. I was doing my debate team, it's just kind of how I started working with Kevin. You know, they were building things and then they were being asked to go speak about them. So one of our debate team topics happened to be the Internet of Things. Probably back in 2017, I had never heard of such a thing. The kids seemed to know what it was. Can you explain a little bit to our listeners who might be more like me how it's remote and satellites that are controlling even things in our houses like our lights?
Well, everything is data today. You know, when we even phone, voice to voice communication, whether it's the old way or the new way, it actually is, the voice is transcribed into data. So anything that is transferring data from point A to point B through some type of device or technology is today considered the Internet of Things. Before in the 90s, we used to call it machine to machine. As a matter of fact, OnStar was really the first commercial, I would say, system that started the Internet of Things, because it controlled the airbag system, it controlled your air conditioning, your locking system. So anything where a machine talked to a machine, eventually it was coined the Internet of Things. So today, whether it's your phone or whether it's a satellite or whether it's your home computer, it's talking to something else. And therefore, all these devices are all connected. And Internet is just really a conglomeration of devices connected together, speaking together. And so today, you and I are talking on the Internet, and today our devices are talking to each other on the Internet as well. So our refrigerators are talking to our stoves. Someday they'll tell your stove what you're going to cook, and someday you'll probably be someone to help you eat.
Right.
I don't need any help with that, except maybe stop me from that. I want to also go back to the student that you said that you met. So when you met the student at the conference, was it Theo? Do you remember who the student was? Or
young man at the time, 7th grade, glasses. I can't recall.
Sammer.
Sammer, yes.
So what was it about him that got you? You said you spoke with him, and all of a sudden you were thinking about, a CubeSat. So what was it about this student that kind of intrigued you there?
I am now going on 67 years old, and I've been in business for almost over 48 years. And quite frankly, I've never had a young man of his age walk up to me, extend his hands in the suit, and say, "My name is Sammer. I am from the Weiss School, and we have built a CubeSat satellite." And he was such an engaging young man, very poised, and quite frankly, very smart, smarter than I was. My wife and I were at this dinner party when he came up to us and boldly introduced himself. And I will tell you, he has my heart for the rest of his life, or mine. So that really got me engaged on who are the people behind this young man, because my daughter is a teacher, as Kevin knows, because his class actually taught her 1st grade one day virtually. And so my hat's off to the two of you, because you are really building and creating really the future. And the way that they learned to speak, talk, and behave today will go a million miles.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, Sammer is definitely he's a great example of a kid that just let us help him as much as we could. And he took advantage. Not only is he bright and hardworking, but he took advantage of every opportunity we could make available for him. So that's about all you can ask for, right? Is a kid who gives you their best, works hard, has a good attitude, and and is a learner.
And
so.
he's still doing things with us. I
Absolutely.
mean, not only is his satellite about to launch, but he's actually going to be speaking at the McClures banquet with you. So he's
Yes.
still around.
Yeah.
That, you know, that's great, because those are the young people that don't quit. And today, I was taught survival skills in very early on by my father. And so those survival skills have allowed me to have a career. And so today, all we can ask is we teach young people the same types of skills. So no matter how the world changes, they will be able to survive and help others.
That Michigan Space Forum, it seems like it was not long ago, and yet it was 2 years ago. And in fact, it's been just a little over 2 years. And for those of you that are listening or watching this cast that don't know, about a year ago, during where the COVID was really nasty, we had gone to virtual learning, and John McClure's daughter is a first grade teacher in Nebraska, and my 7th grade chemistry class taught a class for her students on astronomy and chemistry together. And I think probably my 7th graders enjoyed it more than the first graders did. So,
well, she's looking to do more of that.
Wonderful. So let's transition now. In 2020, you and I started talking, and frankly, I don't really recall who exactly threw the idea out first, but the next thing you know, we start talking about the wolf pack and something Nebraska had never done. Why don't you share a little bit about that with us?
Actually, thanks to Kevin and his students, we got the bright idea that why invent the wheel, just follow success. So we decided to follow success. And I remember contacting Kevin saying, teach me, because I want to teach young people how to sort of navigate through this reintroduction of space to this generation, because we had that lull from 2011 to Elon Musk in 2018. So part of what you and I did, Kevin, if you recall, is that we said, you are very giving in that you say, here's what I'm doing, call on me anytime and I will help you. As a matter of fact, you said, I think there's a way that I could get you into space, because Nebraska had never launched a satellite. And if we teamed together with North Carolina, who was in the same situation as Nebraska, and with our team in Florida, we might have something even more special that NASA has not run into if we cooperate together and communicate. So we started down that path, although I to my dismay, we didn't quite finish out for lots of different reasons. One of which, timing wasn't right for you in North Carolina. But the other is that we haven't taught ourselves how to really collaborate very effectively. So, so what we did was we teamed in partnership with the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, the College of Engineering, who's very supportive. Dean Lance Perez has been a huge supporter of this program. And he gave us undergraduate college engineering students to mentor our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, predominantly 8th and 9th and 10th graders is what we ended up with. 14 of them from different areas around Nebraska. So it's not even one school. And we, on Zoom, we started to teach the kids, who work with Kevin's students, who work with Kevin, who guide us to a point. And then our mentors, which are the college undergrads, sort of took it from there and exploded it. So we were selected, thankfully, for Kevin's support. We were selected out of 33 submissions. We were one of 14 selected and given the number 6 priority. So not bad for out of the box.
No, no. In fact, you beat the odds, and it's a big reason to celebrate, right? It's you know, you used my name a lot in the story, but the truth is there is no Big Red Sat without John McClure. So I know you have to have just a little bit of satisfaction in saying, well, we got this far. So I know you're on step 12 of 1,000, but you are on step 12.
Right, right. And we're very thankful. And I appreciate that, Kevin. You know, my role is to be the big pusher. But my satisfaction, quite frankly, is not in the creation of all the opportunities that these young people will be given, but the very fact that 2 of those 14 are my grandchildren who have gotten significantly a lot out of it. What more of a legacy can you give one child than education and the opportunity to succeed? And these young people will succeed in a very, very different world than we're accustomed to. And
Right.
that's the best, that's really where I'm satisfied, is that we've given kids opportunities, not that we've achieved something.
That's one thing that we find is that I think what Kevin and I do together is interesting in and of itself as far as content and then the speaking part, but it's really more about the opportunities that are curated and then therefore they can participate in that they might not otherwise have. And so the idea that your grandkids and the children you were able to participate in building a cube satellite is something that they'll talk about forever.
Right, right. And it looks good. Looks great on the resume.
Well, that's what we're noticing. And that's really why we kind of launched into something a little separate from what we had been doing before, is we were losing, you know, kids would leave us in middle school, go off to high schools where they could still come and hang out with us, but they weren't getting that reinforcement there. And so we realized that there was a need to kind of create something that allows this pipeline to kind of continue from young kids all the way to get them to college. Tell me a little bit about the name of your satellite. Is it Big Red One? The name? How did you come up with your team name and your satellite name?
Well, in Nebraska, the University of Nebraska at Lincoln is called the Big Red, and so when you hear the Big Red, you know you're from Nebraska. So the students and the mentors created the name, and they also designed their own logo, which is the moon and Mars and the stars. AXP stands for the mentors, which is a portion of the Aerospace Club. So our mentors came from the Aerospace Club of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And quite frankly, this program has been good for them as well, because they've engaged, and this was Kevin's idea. The closer they were in the age, the more that the young ones will appreciate what they're doing, because the older ones are sort of close in age to them. And that's worked out very well. And these students are giving of their time in the middle of the pandemic, in the middle of having to deal with all this virtually, and all for nothing. And so what we've done is made sure that our mentors get opportunities. Again, Kevin helped them write a white paper and present at a conference. Those are all on our website, which is thebigredsat.org. We would like you to go out there. You can see our first high altitude balloon launch. It made a number of newscasts as far as Los Angeles, and written up in many different newspapers. And so our end goal is to actually create a documentary of what we believe is a historic event in our state history. Because the ultimate goal is to actually engage Nebraskans at creating and being a part of the space race of the future. Today, we're known for agriculture. I don't expect to replace that, but I do expect to augment that through aerospace, or space of some kind. And we have one of our local congressmen, Don Bacon, who is a great supporter. We have our own only astronaut that has ever come from the state of Nebraska, Clay Anderson. He is a very big supporter, both of which came out to congratulate us. Just so happened that the selection coincided with our high altitude balloon launch, which we coordinated with the Museum of the Air and Space Museum here in Ashland, Nebraska. So we have a lot of people engaged. Our goal is to engage the entire state. The goal is to someday actually have space being taught at every level, K through 12, and then also to bring back some of our former graduates and help them create startups or bring companies here to Nebraska. Although University of Nebraska does not have a specific aerospace program, however, we have graduates who work for NASA, John Marshall, NASA Goddard. As a matter of fact, two of our mentors out of the four actually have internships this summer with aerospace companies. One McDonnell Douglas Systems, General Dynamics Systems, and the other one is NASA Goddard. So, and they will tell you, without this program, they would have a more difficult time. It was pretty easy because people were impressed with what these young people have done. So everybody wins at all those levels. Parents really are thankful for what we're able to achieve. And today our goal is that these students don't have to pay a penny. So it's all sort of homegrown. And so money should not get in the way of someone's thirst for learning.
It's a great way to sort of wrap it up.
Yeah.
What we normally do, John, is one of our last questions for all the folks we interview is, if you had to leave one piece of advice for, say, kids your grandchildren's age, what is the most, what would you say is, from your life, it's been the things that you would like them to know that would maybe make their lives a little bit better or help them as they consider a career in technology or STEM?
It's really easy. I tell my grandchildren this pretty much all the time. Two things. One, when you make a decision, choose the problem you want to live with. The second is, when you hear can't do, when someone tells you can't do, you hear can do. And don't ever give up, because had I decided to give up or not wake up one day, there would not be a GM OnStar, there would not be a big red satellite. And those two things have affected the world. And therefore, that's the best thing I can leave behind, is to affect the world in a more positive way.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that you'll be reaching out soon. We look forward to hearing from you again.
Great, thank you, I'm here.